Yesterday, we talked about how the Jimmy Butler trade was perfect for the Chicago Bulls. Now today, let's talk about why the Jimmy Butler trade was perfect for Jimmy Butler. Because, let's be honest here, the situation in Chicago has been toxic lately. So Jimmy, you're free. Reunite with Tom Thibodeau. Become the veteran star that Minnesota needs to lead them day in and day out. So what's up guys, Mike here, and today we're going to talk about why Jimmy Butler is the perfect missing piece in Minnesota. They needed a veteran star in this league because the Minnesota Timberwolves were supposed to be good this season. After hiring Tom Thibodeau and another year of offseason improvement from Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, the T-Wolves were expected to at least make a run at the 8th seed in the Western Conference. Only it never happened. Instead of making the playoffs, Minnesota won just 31 games and left many people wondering what was wrong with this talented young roster. But really, when we look at the Wolves season as a whole, it's not hard to see what went wrong this season. For one thing, the roster they had in place didn't really fit, and on top of that, despite now having one of the best defensive coaches in the world in Tom Thibodeau, Minnesota was still one of the worst defensive teams in the entire NBA. Both of these problems led to the downfall of the Minnesota Timberwolves this year, but let's first take a look at the Timberwolves roster problem. The fact is, Minnesota's star players didn't seem to really fit together as a collective unit, and the proof is right there in the numbers. When the Wolves' 5 best players, Rubio, LaVine, Wiggins, Towns, and Dieng, took the court together, they were outscored by 2.3 points per game. Meanwhile, if you sub out Zach LaVine and replace him with Shabazz Muhammad, the Timberwolves went from being outscored by 2.3 points per game to outscoring their opponent by 12 points a game. So we can see something about Zach LaVine's game didn't really fit into what Minnesota was doing, and that actually makes sense. While LaVine is a great scorer and a great shooter, he's not much of a playmaker, and when you already have 2 incredible scorers on the court in Wiggins and Towns, you don't really need a third big-time scorer who can't really do anything else. On top of this, the core 3 of LaVine, Wiggins, and Towns proved to be horrible on defense this season. Of the 468 players measured in ESPN's defensive plus-minus stat this season, a stat that estimates a player's impact on his team's defensive performance, Towns ranked 390th, LaVine ranked 443rd, and Wiggins ranked 460th. Ouch! Meanwhile, throughout the league, Jimmy Butler ranked as the 3rd best shooting guard in defensive plus-minus. So it's pretty obvious that Jimmy is going to make a huge difference on that side of the court. But the real question here is, will Jimmy be able to fit in with the established core of Andrew Wiggins and Karl-Anthony Towns? So let's find out. Playing this season at the age of 21, Andrew Wiggins has already established himself as one of the best young scorers the league has ever seen. An athletic slasher who is great at drawing fouls and who also shot 36% from 3. This year, Wiggins averaged 23.6 points per game on 45% shooting. Already, this scoring rate puts him among the NBA's elite, as only 13 players in league history have ever averaged over 23 points per game when they were 21 years old or younger. But the problem with Wiggins is that while he is already an awesome scorer, he's really just that, a scorer. This year, he only averaged 4 rebounds and 2.3 assists a game, and again, he was awful on the defensive end. And speaking of Andrew Wiggins being terrible on defense, that's really his biggest concern thus far, his defensive struggles. I mean, heading into the 2014 NBA draft, Andrew Wiggins was seen as a potential star on defense. All of the tools were and are there. He has the length, the speed, and the athleticism to excel on defense. But for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to put all of these talents together. But luckily for Andrew, that's where Jimmy Butler is going to help improve Wiggins' game tremendously. Because really, Andrew Wiggins' former partner on the wing, Zach LaVine, was just a different version of himself. Zach has shown he can fill it up, but that's also all he could really do. LaVine isn't a great rebounder, he's not a playmaker, and he's also been awful on defense. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, hand, well, he's the complete opposite of all of those things. As we've already said, Jimmy is one of the best defensive guards in the league. Immediately, his presence on the defensive end will be huge. Minnesota is going to be replacing what was the worst defensive wing duo in the league with a man who is a 3-time second-team all-defense. This will allow the Wolves to place a defensive stopper on their opponent's best perimeter scorer, but what's more, you can also bet your life that Jimmy's defensive tendencies are going to rub off on Andrew Wiggins. Because while it's one thing for Tom Thibodeau to tell Andrew Wiggins what to do on defense, it's another to actually have an established NBA star sharing his defensive secrets. Learning from Jimmy is only going to bring Andrew to the next level. At least it better, because really, the Jimmy Butler-Andrew Wiggins wing duo is going to be the key to any success the Timberwolves have in the future. On paper, Butler and Wiggins will give the Wolves possibly the most flexible wing duo in the NBA. Both have the athleticism to switch onto every player on the court. Both are able to score in the post and from the perimeter, and both have different enough offensive games to not step on each other's toes. Because while Jimmy is listed as a shooting guard, he's really more of a combo guard. He has the playmaking ability to make everyone else on his team better. In the past, when the Bulls have relied on Jimmy to be their point guard, he's thrived. Just look at the end of the 2016 season, where Derrick Rose missed 4 out of his last 7 games. In those 4 games Derrick missed, Jimmy took the ball as the Bulls point guard and averaged 21.5 points, 10.25 assists, and 9.25 rebounds. This playmaking ability from Jimmy will be key to Andrew Wiggins' game moving forward, as while Andrew is known as a slasher who is more than capable of scoring off the dribble, he also excels in catch and shoot situations. This year, Wiggs made 0.9 threes a game and shot 41% on catch and shoot threes. Meanwhile, on non-catch and shoot threes, Andrew only made 0.4 threes a game and shot just 29% from behind the arc. So adding another playmaker on the court in Jimmy will be huge for Andrew. He's now going to get even more threes in catch and shoot situations where he's the most efficient. So when you combine Jimmy's defensive knowledge with Tibbs' defensive genius, you can almost guarantee that Andrew Wiggins is going to drastically improve as an all-around player. But as we already know in this NBA full of super teams, just having a superstar wing duo is not going to get you an NBA championship. Luckily for Minnesota though, they have one of the best young big men the league has ever seen. Karl Anthony Towns has everything you could possibly want from a young franchise big man in the current NBA. Cat is an awesome rebounder. He can bang in the post, he can make plays off the dribble, and he's a great three-point shooter. What's more, he's already been able to put all of his skills together on the court and has produced some absurd stats. In the 2017 season, Towns put up 25.1 points, 12.3 rebounds, 1.3 blocks, and made 1.2 threes a game while shooting 54% from the floor and 37% from 3. And he just also happened to finish the year with an awesome 26 PER. When we look at every player in the history of the league, only 8 have finished a year averaging over 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 1 block. Those 8 players include names such as Kareem, Shaq, Hakeem, and Duncan, which is impressive, but going even further, Cat is the only player in history to put up those numbers and average at least 1 made 3 per game. And in terms of age, only Towns and Shaq put up over 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 1 block at the age of 21 or younger. And so it's pretty obvious that the Timberwolves have a very special young talent in Karl Anthony Towns. What's even more impressive is that not only does Cat excel on the court, he's also the perfect teammate off it. As a young leader, Karl has set the tone for the rest of his teammates in all aspects of off-court life. As with every NBA team, the Wolves have 2 team buses to take their players and staff to the court for every game. The first bus is usually made up of rookies and bench players, guys who are trying to prove themselves. The second bus is usually made up of the team's starters and the rest of their veterans. With that said, every single game this season, Karl Anthony Towns could be found on the team's first bus. He does this so that 2.5 hours before game time, he can get in individual work on the court in order to get in as much practice as possible. There is a theme for Karl in everything he does. He's always trying to outwork everyone around him, even though he's already a star. He gained this work ethic from spending his rookie year with Kevin Garnett, a man who is known for his legendary and tireless approach to basketball. As Danny Ainge has said of KG, if you don't meet his expectations, he has no use for you. So basically, if you aren't willing to work as hard as Kevin Garnett day in and day out, he's just going to give up on you. That was no problem for Karl Anthony Towns. Day in and day out, he joined KG for some intense one-on-one work before practice. Then after practice, the two would meet up again and get even more work in. It was around month 2 or 3 of this grind that Kevin Garnett finally realized Karl Anthony Towns was not going to give up. And it was then that KG realized and quickly told everyone Karl Anthony Towns was going to be the NBA's next big thing. But of course, every NBA superstar needs help. Luckily for Minnesota though, they now have their missing piece. They have the player who is going to bring them to the next level. Because while there is no question that Cat and Wiggins work hard on their games, it's possible that no one in the NBA has worked harder than Jimmy Butler. As a 22-year-old rookie, Jimmy played in just 42 games and averaged just 2.6 points in those games. Now, as a 27-year-old, a man who in high school did not receive a single Division I scholarship offer and in college was not even a member of the third team All-Big East, Jimmy Butler has become an all-star starter and a member of the third team All-NBA. What's more, even though Jimmy is already going to be 28 years old heading into the 2008 season, I think his prime is still going to line up well with his younger teammates. The reason I think this is that Jimmy Butler's game does not rely on athleticism. Instead, he's found success due to his craftiness, relentless hustle, and elite basketball IQ. Jimmy is going to be an all-star level player for a long time, and now he finally has the chance to help build a championship contender. Because now the Timberwolves have all of the pieces they need. They've got a superstar core of Wiggins, Butler, and Towns. They've got one of the best coaches in the NBA in Tom Thibodeau, and they have the roster flexibility to add in more stars as the years go on. Just this summer alone, they're going to have over $22 million in cap space, and it's that last thing, the fact that they have roster flexibility, that is the real X factor here. Is Minnesota going to be able to get a 4th star? Is Ricky Rubio going to stay on the team, or are they going to try and get a better shooting point guard? Is Cat going to end up being a power forward or a center? Those questions we can't answer yet. All we do know is that with the Jimmy Butler trade, Minnesota has put themselves in an awesome position going forward, and I'm very excited to see what they do. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe because we're in the NBA offseason. This is the best time of the year. So anytime anything crazy happens in the NBA, there will be a video on this channel dissecting it. So again, subscribe if you're new because we're going to have so much content this summer. And if you're already subscribed, thank you guys so much for supporting. You're the best. We know this, and as always, have an awesome day, and cue that music.